You want me to put that on my todger?
This one's wife. Give me the spotlight. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As you know, the spotlight must always fall on the narcissist. As I've explained to you before, the narcissist must be the bride at everybody's wedding, the corpse at every funeral. It has to be all about the narcissist, and we see this repeatedly with this one's wife. Imagine the hypersensitivity to control that she has is such that she has a subconscious sense of a threat to her control from a television program. Yes. You are familiar with The Crown, the loosely based on reality series, which has been running for a number of years and recently entered its final season. The Crown purportedly stops before this one's wife comes on the scene, which of course amounts to a threat to control. Everybody else gets a mention, the late Queen, her father before that, Andrew, Charles, Edward, Anne, William, the nemesis. Catherine appears in this season, Diana, whom she duplicates. Ginger Bollocks, naturally. But this one's wife doesn't get an appearance, and therefore that wounds her. You may think to yourself, how preposterous to get your panties, if you're wearing any, in a bunch about a television programme. But remember, it's about her, and because she is a member of the royal family, she believes that she ought to be mentioned, and the failure of that series to get to that point wounds her. Furthermore, the media coverage of the current season, revolving around Diana, Princess of Wales, William and Harry, means again it's not about her, and she cannot stand that the attention is focused elsewhere, which means she has to do something to remove attention from the Crown and place it on her. And this is something that has been picked up by Maureen Callahan, writing in the Daily Mail, with the headline, "Trust the Duke and Duchess of Me, Monty Shit Show to steal the crown again." Maureen Callahan's withering takedown of how the latest Sussex Buck drama has dethroned Netflix grand royal finale. It doesn't matter, of course, that they're signed up with Netflix and have received many millions. She's quite happy to shit all over them, so long as it's made to be about her. Callahan writes, "The Crown never stood a chance. For the Duke and Duchess of Monty Shit Show just can't help hogging the spotlight. And this long-anticipated final season, with its surprisingly compassionate depictions of Charles and William, has not had a moment to land. Prince Harry, completely by himself amid Queen Elizabeth's death," so read the screaming headline in People magazine on the eve of the 6th series. What follows is an extract from the upcoming book Bell Endgame by this one's wife and Harry's cheerleader, the improbably named plastic-faced Lieutenant Omid Scobie, with whom Sussex sources have since denied any affiliation. Yeah, right. We've read it all before, of course. The valorized victimhood and grudge-holding that has come to define Harry and this one's wife's story. Here's Bell Endgame, sourced by people close to the Sussexes, on the couple's most intimate thoughts and feelings as the Queen lay dying, what they said to each other when totally alone, how Charles called with the sad news, and Harry's unanswered text to William as the family rushed to Balmoral. No, not sadness at the end of a life well lived, nor admiration for an enduring legacy of stoicism and service, but how it affected them, which of course is typical of this one's wife. She has to make it all about the impact on her. She cannot present praise towards the Queen, she has to talk about herself. Harry was completely by himself on this, says a source. William ignored him. He clearly didn't want to see his brother, another adds. This one's wife, according to a friend, could sense she wasn't wanted. Wah! Transpose this seeming utter lack of class and discretion with The Crown taking its final bow. Right away, this initial 4-episode instalment of Season 6 makes one thing clear. This series, despite what's come before, is unabashedly pro-monarchy. How could it be anything but? Its central crown bearer, the not long departed Queen Elizabeth, played by Imelda Staunton, is very much alive throughout. As for all the worries about Diana, the impeccable Elizabeth Debicki, and a potentially violent recreation of the crash that killed her, it is as tastefully done as possible. We see a speeding black Mercedes, but the impact itself is off-screen. Charles, Dominic West, meanwhile, is gifted a newfound hero narrative. And unlike his living, breathing inspiration, our fictional 12-year-old Harry has little dialogue and never steals the scene. That said, these episodes aren't without teeth. An apparent smattering of well-aimed barbs at our wayward royals are especially curious, given Harry and this one's wife's lucrative Netflix deal. We see a divorced Diana lobbying then Prime Minister Tony Blair for an official role, despite no longer being a working royal. Queen Elizabeth's blistering response, "I always say it's hard to be half in anything. You're either in or you're out." Subtle as an anvil, that dialogue. As Harry said in his 6-part Netflix docuseries last year, he and this one's wife asked the Queen for that very arrangement. The freedom to live in America, monetize their titles, and cherry-pick their royal duties. Hashtag Sussex Royal anyone. It became very clear, very quickly, Harry said, that girl was not up for discussion or debate. Part of the problem, he implied, was that this one's wife, alas, was Diana 2.0. She is the Paul to Kate's Ringo, the diamond who shines too bright, Kate the mere cubic zirconia. The issue, Harry fumed, is when someone who is marrying in, who should be a supporting act, is then stealing the limelight or is doing the job better than the person who's born to do this. But as the final season of The Crown makes clear, there was only ever one Diana. So much so that her death and the ensuing fallout consumed the entirety of these 4 episodes. In fact, such is her centrifugal force that showrunner Peter Morgan can't let her go. Even after death, Diana is still the star of the show. And pausing there, how this one's wife would love that to be the case for her. As Charles retrieves her body from Paris, she pops up as a ghost on his private plane. Truly, we have entered soap operaville. Charles and Diana having a tete-a-tete, though her body is sealed in that 1/4-ton lead-lined casket. Charles, Paris, one of the busiest cities in the world, and you brought her to a standstill. Ghost of Diana, ta-da! Charles, it was ever thus. You were always the most beloved of all of us. It's hard to interpret that as anything other than Morgan showing his fealty to Diana, the royal family, and the monarchy itself. Charles and Camilla are depicted as true love, the real end game, the best thing for the future of the crown and its subjects. Charles toasts Camilla at a grand 50th birthday he shows for her, quoting Captain Wentworth's letter from Austen's Persuasion. "Dare not say that man forgets sooner than woman, that his love has an earlier death. I have known none but you, and just I may have been, weak and resentful I have been, but never inconstant." Wow. Contrast that with Diana at loose ends, conducting an ill-advised romance with middle-aged playboy Dodi Fayed, depicted here as singularly weak, courting the paparazzi while bouncing all over Saint-Tropez and Monte Carlo, her childish lover all too often qualifying every plan with that unsexiest of lines, "I just need to run it by my dad." Diana and Dodi's fling was barely 1 month old when they died. She had no plans to marry him, as she told the Daily Mail's Richard Kay in one of the final calls made before her death. "I've just got out of one marriage," she said to Kay, "and I need another one like a hole in the head." That declaration is ratified in episode 3 when Diana tells William over the phone that "I'm emphatically not going to marry Dodi," and later tells Dodi himself after he presents her with the diamond engagement ring. "I can't make your father love you more by becoming your wife. Marriage is a serious and painful business." It continues by talking more about what happens in The Crown and provides you with details about it. And then continues by saying, "And we end well before the ongoing churn in Monty Shit Show." So as The Crown concludes not with pomp and circumstance but camp and revisionism, our eyes avert to some real-time melodrama. Following a warm phone call between Charles, Harry and this one's wife on the King's 75th birthday, the most fragile of steps towards reconciliation has likely been torched by Scobie's new book. Poor Charles. If he is Charlie Brown, then this one's wife and Harry are Lucy, holding the football and pulling it away, despite promising that this time, really, they won't do it again, would never make him look like a fool. If the Netflix doc couldn't lay waste to any remaining goodwill, if Spare couldn't do it, by God, this yet might. The Crown may end with the ghost of Diana. We, however, remain exhaustedly haunted by this one's wife and Harry, who will never lay old bones to rest. Thus writes Maureen Callahan, demonstrating once again that this one's wife needs to ensure that it's all about her in the face of a competing interest from a television programme this time. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.